Hello there, and welcome to episode 18 of Colonization Project. Right now, we are unlocking a few tech nodes like experimental science before we move on to the first launch of this episode. This first launch will involve us sending a probe to a planet that doesn't exist. At least that's what some people think. We're sending a probe out to Dres, and there's debate on whether or not Dres actually exists. So, we are sending a probe there to prove if it exists or not. And that's where the name of this probe comes in. It is called Truth, because we are trying to find out the truth of whether Dres exists or not. But we are launching this on a star, and it does have a few nuclear engines equipped, because you do have to do quite a big inclination change to actually get to Dres. So we just have a nuclear engine there, because that's what I like to put on interplanetary craft. But you can see we've already launched. We're getting into orbit now, and we can start heading off to Dres. We did need experimental science. I like to go one tech tier at a time, but I needed experimental science because the asteroid that we redirected, I believe in the last episode, yeah, we can't actually redirect it. We need bigger drills, and that's what experimental science gives us. It gives us bigger drills. So that's why we have it. So that's why we unlocked it instead of a different tech node. But now we are reusing the booster, as always. This is probably like the I don't even know how many times we've reused that booster. But you can see we have landed it on the drone ship, and we can now do our trans-Dres injection. However, the antenna, for some reason the antenna on the spacecraft broke. So we're not actually going to be able to communicate with it. So we will have to send another probe at the next transfer window, because this one we can't communicate with it. At least once it gets far enough out. Once it does, then the probe is lost. We can't communicate with it. So the mystery of whether Dres exists or not will remain a mystery until the next transfer window. But our next launch, which should be happening momentarily, it involves... Oh yeah, it's a Starship launch. So we have a bit of cleanup to do, because we had to abandon a few missions in the last episode. We also had to, well, we didn't really have to abandon them. We just had to postpone them for a later date. We have to do a bit of cleanup from the Atlas asteroid redirector mission. So this is sort of the start of it. We need to launch up Enterprise to go and get the crew from the Atlas asteroid redirector, because we have to make a new module, and we're going to send that up. We are going to send that up on a space shuttle. We need to make a new module, and we don't want to be leaving them in space. That's just wasting life support. So we're sending up a starship to go and get them. Pretty simple. You can't say I'm just using MacJob's Ascent guidance. Like I said, I don't really like using it. But because of these inclined orbits, I just like using MacJob better. If I'm doing perfectly, if it's not an insane inclination like the asteroid is in, I'm fine doing it manually. But it is in an insane inclination, so alright, let's just do it manually. But you can see we are trying to reuse the booster. This time, I don't know. I am slowing this down to 1x speed, because once something interesting happens here, which is that we don't actually... I started the burn too late, and we blew up the engines. So that puts an unfortunate end to this booster, and also we come crashing down on the launch pad, and that explodes too. So kind of a catastrophic failure, but oh well, we can repair that. But now we can start heading back to the starship, and heading out to the asteroid. Not much to talk about here. It's just a simple rendezvous maneuver. And we can, yeah. So I think it's going to be in the next episode. We will be sending up a new module that contains larger drills, and a better ISRU unit. Those will allow us to mine the asteroid faster and hopefully give us more Delta V, so we can actually haul it out to Minimus, which is what we want to do with it. We want to haul it out to Minimus so we can mine it for resources, which is good, although I'm not sure how long that's going to be. You can say it did start to burn a bit too late again. Thankfully, we do have 3 engines that I didn't activate, but I activated them so we could slow down faster. But you can see we have arrived at the Atlas Asteroid Redirector and Singularity, which is the name of the asteroid, if I didn't tell you that in the last episode. Now we can get all of our crew members across and into the starship. That's about all that's happening right now. This isn't going well so far. Normally I would have things to talk about, but right now I don't have anything to talk about. So I guess I can talk about what we need to do to get back to the Kerbal Space Center. The starship actually has a lot of extra Delta V, so we can simply just do a massive radial end burn, and we can get ourselves into a nice circular orbit without actually having to go up another orbit, which would take a long time because it's like in an orbit. The asteroid is like it has an orbital period of like 14 days, so we don't want the crew to be in space for that long. And you know, we sort of need to expend that extra Delta V because Starship can't land with almost all of its fuel. It needs quite a bit of its fuel tanks to be empty in order for it to land, or else it won't have enough thrust to actually land. So it's sort of a win-win situation, but you know, it's just we do have to expend a bit of extra Delta V to do that, but that's kind of a good thing. But you can see we are heading back to the Kerbal Space Center. Once again, trying for a pinpoint landing on one of the landing pads, but since one of them is destroyed, we can only land on one of the other 2. But for some reason, I guess the Kerbal repair engineer people are really fast at repairing things. So they actually repaired the other launch pad while we were out doing things with the asteroid and getting the crew back. So apparently they repaired it in that time, which was like 3 hours. But unfortunately, as you may be able to see, the booster is still there and it's sort of flipping into the terrain. So once we reignite the engines, it blows up not only the launch pad that it was standing on, but the other launch pad too that we were going to land on. So I just do a quick little redirect there, and we land on the only remaining landing pad left. But now is sort of Operation 2 of our cleanup efforts. The third stage of the Titan booster that we launched in the last episode, it is able to be recovered. So we want to recover it. Otherwise, what would be the point of it being recovered? As you just saw there, the entire third stage isn't recoverable. Only the engine part of it is. But the engine is the expensive part. That's what we want to reuse. I might upgrade the booster to be able to do full reusability soon. But it does have a few problems it needs to iron out. You see, I have this heat shield at the back. However, it's not aerodynamically stable that way, even with the grid fins extended. So we end up falling into the atmosphere with the engines first, which isn't ideal because the heat shield is in front. And, it means the engines are exposed to a lot of heating. So it's not ideal, but we do eventually land with only a single grid fin lost. So we do have some improvements to be made there, but thankfully everything worked out well. And now we need to send the Munar gateway out to the Mun. That's what it's for. It's not a carbon space station. Otherwise, why would it be called the Munar gateway? We left this in orbit in the last episode, but we didn't have time to actually send it out to the Mun because we needed to go redirect the asteroid. So now we... So now we're just sending it out to the Mun so it can orbit and do things. I can't really do much when there's no crew on board, and we won't be sending crew there for a while because we have other things to be doing, like, I don't know, making a Minimus base. I mean, that's kind of important. The Mun has sort of been it hasn't been on the top of my priority list because we have the Minimus base that we need to construct. And yeah, we just have things to be doing elsewhere. The Mun isn't really all that important right now, at least. It might be important in the future, but we have gotten it out to the Mun. Yeah, it's at the Mun right now, and it will be for the rest of time. But now we are launching, I forget what it is a Minimus satellite. I believe it's MinmusSat-III. And it is launching on a Constellation Block 1. I did return this launch vehicle because the Constellation Block 2 had a bit too much Delta V for this payload. And I just decided why not bring it back for this launch, even though it might never come back again. Although it might. It's a good sort of medium launch vehicle that we can build quickly. It doesn't have any reusability hardware, so if a rocket doesn't have reusability hardware, I like it to be cheap and quick to produce. If it is reusable, then it doesn't really matter because we're going to be reusing it. Like the Sarnis boosters, they're really expensive to make. They're extraordinarily expensive to make, and they cost a lot of time to make. So we've only had one booster for this entire series because of those reasons. But we will be. I think it's in this episode. I do think we construct another Sarnis booster in this episode, but that's because we need. We can't. We need the time. We need. I cannot speak again. We need the ability to launch two boosters back to back. That's basically what we need. But now we're going to try and get it into a Minimus orbit. I did detach the second stage there. I wanted to do a deorbit burn, but apparently if we just leave it be, if we just leave the booster be, it's going to get a gravity assist from the Mun, and it's going to the gravity assist is just going to slingshot it into Kerbin, so it's an automatic deorbit. I thought that was pretty cool. But now we can get into a very high altitude orbit around Minimus, so the scanner can work. It only works at very high altitudes. And it's going to be scanning a high-res altimetry scan of the Mun. I'm not sure why you need a high-res altimetry scan of the Mun to construct a base. I mean, I guess it's for, like, to see if the surface is flat. But I'm pretty sure the Great Flats of Minimus are pretty flat. I mean, it's in the name. So, but I mean, we're getting paid to do it, so we might as well. But now we have a mission to do with the nuclear tug. So we have this contract. We've had it for a while, and it's going to tell us. It already has told us we need to go repair a satellite. We need to attach a very bad antenna onto a satellite, but it's quite strange because the satellite that's already up there has a pretty good antenna already. So I'm not sure why they need probably one of the worst antennas in the game to replace their high-powered antenna, but oh well. We're getting paid to do it, so we're not complaining, I guess. But now we do have to do a quick inclination change to get us into the plane of the target. But thankfully, we have a lot of delta V on this nuclear tug, and inclination changes around Minimus, they aren't the most expensive maneuvers. I mean, they sort of are the most expensive maneuvers, but around Minimus, they only take like a few hundred meters per second of delta V, and we have thousands of meters per second of delta V because of that nuclear engine, which I do quite like. The more efficient engine your nuclear tug has, I think, the better, because you don't want to be sending up refueling missions every 2 service missions that you perform with a nuclear tug. So, more efficient your engine is, the better. And if your engine is extraordinarily efficient, you can just not worry about delta V whatsoever. But now we are getting ourselves onto a course with the satellite. We didn't put the satellite up here. The other agency did, and we're just getting paid to repair it. So that's what we're doing. Once again, not much to talk about here. We're just performing another rendezvous maneuver, like we have done for long period. We've done a lot of rendezvous maneuvers in this series, is what I'm trying to say. But now we have arrived and we can attach the antenna. Once it's attached, that's about all we need to do. And then we can head back to the spacecraft and head back to the space station is what I'm trying to say. And that won't take that long, I guess. But I'm running out of things to say here. I'm definitely running out of things to say, because we're not doing much exciting. We're just planning out maneuvers, doing the maneuvers, and trying to get back to the space station. That's about all we're trying to do. You may see, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Part of me wants to restart the commentary right now. The other part of me is just like, you're 20 minutes in, you only have 7 minutes left, and I might as well just continue with it here and hopefully find something to talk about here soon, or else I might actually want to completely restart the commentary. Hopefully that doesn't happen. If you're hearing it, then chances are it didn't, because I don't like to do commentary stop and then retry the commentary. I think I did do that in the last episode, but normally I don't like to do that because then you have to like resync the audio and stuff. It's not my favorite thing to do, and I sort of just like doing it all in one go, which is why I'm doing it like this. But we have arrived back at the Minimus orbital outpost, and we can move on to unlocking specialized command modules and higher efficiency propulsion, which gives us better command modules and higher efficiency propulsion, if the names didn't give it away. But now we are launching we have a Jool transfer window, and we are going to be sending out 3 different probes to Jool. This, I believe, is I'm going to be able to see it soon, but it is going to be I'm going to be able to see it once we separate the stages. Yes, this is going to be the Jool orbiter, and I called it Treasure because I'm sort of naming all of these after like various valuable things like treasure, and because Jool is pronounced Jool, like the Jool, like a diamond is what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to name all of these after very fancy things, and that sort of fits because we're sending all of these out to Jool. It's the Jool of the solar system. I don't know what I'm trying to... You can probably tell what I'm trying to say, but I'm making absolutely no sense verbally. But you probably can't make out what I'm trying to say. Either or, we are trying to reuse the booster, and this is actually a new Sarnis booster, the first one that we've ever built. It's the second one we've ever built, which is quite strange considering we've used the rocket for like how long have we been using the Sarnis for? I remember using it. I believe we started using Block 1 of Sarnis in episode 3, maybe, when we were launching the Mon mission. I believe that was the first time we launched the Sarnis, and I believe I think it was episode 6 when we landed it on the drone ship, because that episode was called Drone Ship Landings. So I think episode 6 was when we first started reusing the rockets. Propulsively, that is. We did have the Pallades launch vehicle that was reused by parachutes, but then I decided that it's not worth it to reuse 1.25 meter rockets. But these ones are expensive, so we reuse them. And now we are launching the Diamond Laythe lander. Once again, going with the naming theme. And if you couldn't tell, it's going to land on Laythe. That's what the Laythe lander and the name means. And that's about all it's going to do. It's not really designed to do anything else. It probably can't do anything else. It doesn't have enough delta V to land on like Val or Tylo. It could land on Bop, but it's not designed to do that. Or it could also do that on Pole, but once again, it's not designed to do that. And we can now reuse the booster once again. This is like the 16th flight of this single booster right here. So it is showing its age, but it's also very reliable, as we haven't lost it in 10-12 episodes. So it is very reliable, and we have gotten quite good at landing them. So we haven't lost a single Sarnis booster so far at least. But you can't say we are once again using nuclear engines, because I like nuclear engines. The Treasure Jool orbiter actually does have a nuclear engine, it's using a special nuclear engine. It's not using a big nuclear engine. It's using a much smaller one. For some reason, the crossfade there was a bit longer than it should. But it's using a very special nuclear engine. It's a bit more efficient, but it also produces a bit less thrust. Instead of having a nuclear reactor, so nuclear engines work by having a nuclear reactor, then you pass a propellant through the nuclear reactor, and that heats it up. Rocket engine. The one that we are using is actually called a candle nuclear engine. I'm not sure if that's an acronym or not. But how it works is that instead of a nuclear reactor, you have a very small RTG. I mean, very small RTG. It's an RTG, is what I'm trying to say. So it works by having an RTG, and you just pass the propellant through the RTG like a normal nuclear reactor. But it's not a nuclear reactor, it's an RTG, which stands for radioisotope thermoelectric generator, if you don't know. And that's basically just using the natural decay of uranium or plutonium, and then you then you just it just works, is what I meant. You may be wondering why we didn't reuse the Sarnas core. At stage separation, you saw something explode. That was the probe core, and that's quite essential to recovery, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to control it. So I couldn't reuse that booster. It brought an unfortunate end to that booster. But that will be the end of this episode. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Actually, wait, no. I might extend this video a bit, but I forgot to tell you what that mission was supposed to be. It was supposed to be actually, it's not supposed to be. It is a Jool atmospheric diver. I believe it's called Pearl, because going with the naming theme again. And it's going to head into the atmosphere of Jool and collect science from there. But that will actually be the end of this episode. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.